In Module 1, Lesson 8, we're going to represent proportional relationships with equations. We need to remember that a proportional relationship has a constant ratio or unit rate. And we need to remember that the constant ratio or the unit rate can also be called the constant of proportionality. Please look back at previous lessons to study that in further. Example 1 has a table that shows us the relationship between gallons and miles driven. We're going to find the constant of proportionality and explain what it represents in this situation. Remember that typically we divide the y value by the x value to find the constant of proportionality, because we're looking for what number we would multiply x by to get y. So we will look at 224 divided by 8, which is 28, and then 280 divided by 10, which is also 28, and finally 112 divided by 4, which is also 28. So the constant of proportionality in our problem is clearly 28. It represents the number of miles driven per gallon. So if we have 8 gallons of gas and we can drive 28 miles on each gallon, we could go 224 miles. Constant of proportionality represents the miles per gallon. From that, we're going to write an equation that will relate the miles driven to the number of gallons of gas. The miles driven to the number of gallons of gas. So our equation would be 28 times the miles driven, which we could represent as x, or for that matter, we could make our variable be m. 28 times x equals y, or the miles driven. Just to clarify with different variables, we could say 28 times gallons equals miles. Let's space that out a little bit for you. 28 times gallons equals miles driven. Knowing that there is a half gallon left in the gas tank when the light comes on, will she make it to the nearest gas station? And explain why or why not. If there is a half gallon left and she can go 28 miles on 1 gallon, 1/2 gallon would mean that she can go 14 miles. The nearest gas station then is 26 miles away. They told us that in the original problem. So obviously she cannot make it to the nearest gas station. Using the equation found in Part B, determine how far your mother can travel on 18 gallons of gas. So we have 28 miles per gallon. We determined that as our constant proportionality. 28 miles per gallon times 18 gallons. Which equals 504 miles. And then finally in Part E, determine how many gallons of gas would be needed to travel 750 miles. So in this case, we actually have the answer to the problem. We actually have the y value. 750 equals 28 times the number of gallons. So since we are searching for that other factor, we would divide to find the missing number. 750 divided by 28 equals 26 and 8/10. In example 2, we have a graph that is representing a situation. The situation is the number of portraits that Andrea draws and the amount of time in hours that she needs to draw those portraits. We can write several ordered pairs from the graph by looking for where the graph actually crosses through, straight through the intersection of 2 points. For example, I notice a point right here where 2, 3 is the ordered pair. So we'll write that one down first. 2, 3. We can also find an intersection at 4, 6, and a third one at 6, 9. So we'll write those 3 ordered pairs down and work with those. While it is possible to find ordered pairs that are in between those easy intersections, it is kind of tough to approximate those. So we try to look for the ones that are clearly right on the intersection of the 2 grid lines. In context of this graph, the ordered pair 2, 3 means 2 hours spent drawing 3 portraits. So in 2 hours, she can draw 3 portraits. The 4, 6 likewise means 4 hours to draw 6 portraits. And 6, 9 would be 6 hours to draw 9 portraits. The constant of proportionality would be determined by dividing y by x, the second number by the first number. So if we were to do that, we would find 1 1/2 portraits per hour. Skip down here, 1 1/2 portraits per hour. We could use that unit rate to write several equations. For example, we would write 1 1/2 times hours equals the number of portraits. Or we could keep it as an improper fraction and write 3/2 times x equals y.